Aafia's case is one that, subhanAllah, it really hurts the heart when you think about it. Since 2005, I've been investigating into her case, trying to help put together all the different pieces of what can only be described as a puzzle. Whenever I talk to people about her case, it's always, well, what about this, or what about that, you know, and what do you know about this? And the reality is that to this day, we don't know everything about this case. We don't know absolutely everything that we need to know because of the way that the sister has been treated, because of the way her family have been treated, and because of the way that the American government has conducted itself in this entire affair. And I think that is something that needs to be borne in mind when we consider what this case means to us, because it's really the silence that speaks more than the information that we have. So let me go through a little bit of what we do know, because that helps to establish why it is that we're all here today, why it is that we're so incensed by her treatment. So we know this, that mashallah, our sister is extremely well educated. She graduated from MIT, one of the best universities in the world in America, in biology. And then she did her PhD in cognitive neuroscience from Brandeis, which is another very, very well-respected university in the US. And she lived a lot of her life in the US, you know, especially she got married out there, she had her children out there as well, and she really had established herself a life out there. She was very, very well known in the dawah. I mean, not just she used to help out a little bit here and there, she was actually a known da'iyah in the country. And subhanAllah, she really brought Islam to many people. So when we think about Aafia, it's not just about a daughter, a mother, a wife. What we're talking about here is a da'iyah. So Aafia is living her life in Pakistan, and after 9/11, you have what's called the Pent Bomb investigation. This is the investigation that was carried out by the FBI into all the Muslim communities around the US, and you had literally thousands of foreign Muslims living in the US at the time being picked up in these wide sweeping detentions. And these people were put into these immigration facilities, they were interrogated by the FBI, and amongst them were Aafia and her family. Simply because they were active in the dawah, they were picked up and they were investigated. And over the course of some time, their life was made quite difficult by the Americans, to such an extent that Aafia's husband at the time was the one to say, let's move back to Pakistan, I can't take it living here anymore. So Aafia finds herself back in Pakistan, and as far as she's concerned, nothing's going on. Unfortunately, due to marital problems, she is divorced from her husband divorces her. Now, one of the things that you might hear within the media is that somehow the husband was completely innocent in this relationship, that, you know, he was a good man. And this is where the investigation work becomes important. In fact, it's subhanAllah, it's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts things in your way. One day I was being interviewed by a journalist in the US. She's a Muslim girl, she was writing for ML magazine, and she was talking about another case. So we were talking, and I said, you've got an American accent, where are you from? She said, I'm from Boston. I said, okay, Boston. Have you ever heard of a case of a girl named Aafia Siddiqui? I've been working on the case for a number of years now, and just thought I'd ask you. She goes, really, you know, I actually knew Aafia personally. I grew up with her. I said, okay, so can you tell me a bit more? So we started talking. It turned out that the media reports about Aafia being quite dominant in her relationship turned out to be completely untrue. For a period of years, Aafia Siddiqui was the victim of domestic violence at the hands of an abusive husband. The sister that I was speaking to, this journalist, she told me that Aafia would turn up to the masjid with her face black and blue from the bruises she used to receive at his hands. This is a person that they said, Aafia Siddiqui, this is a person that the Americans said was, at the time she was a victim of this abusive relationship, was running conflict diamonds out of Liberia to help fund Al-Qaeda operations. When you start going through the case, when you start looking at all the different things that the Americans said about her, and then you weigh them up against the facts of where she was, what she was doing, the two just do not marry at all. The kind of lies that have been told in this case are actually unbelievable. So in March 2003, this is now 7 years from today, pretty much, Aafia Siddiqui is on her way to Karachi airport. When she gets there, her and her 3 children are picked up by the security agencies, by the Pakistani security agencies. Now, how do we know this? We know this because immediately thereafter, there were articles in the Pakistani press and the American press claiming that she was being interrogated by the FBI. All of these articles were redacted almost immediately after their release. Her mother, Aafia's mother, 2 days after her kidnapping, she's picked up, she's paid a visit by a man who says, if you raise any issue about your daughter's disappearance, you will never see your grandchildren again. This is a reality. I've confirmed this with the family myself. I asked the mother myself, is this what happened? She goes, yes. 2 days after my daughter's disappearance, a man came to us and said, do not speak, do not say anything about this case, otherwise you will never see your grandchildren again. Now some of you might be thinking, well, that seems a bit far-fetched, but I've dealt now with dozens of cases, almost up to 100 cases just in Pakistan, where the first thing that happens when the person goes missing is that the family are paid a visit and the family are told, do not speak about this disappearance, because if you do, we will detain the rest of your family, or you will never see your loved one again. This is common practice in Pakistan. Don't take my word from it. Ask any NGO that's in Pakistan. Ask the lawyers who are working on these cases out there. This is common practice within security agencies. So at that stage, Aafia is detained, and that's it. After that, we don't know anything about her. We don't know anything about her whatsoever. We get these little bits and pieces here and there. This is now until 2008, when one day, we're told that she is in Afghan custody.